So this is a quick demonstration on how to create a new project in Webstorm. Webstorm is an IDE for working with both JavaScript on both the client side and server side. We're going to demonstrate today how to make a nodejs Express app, which is part of the famous mean web framework, M being the MongoDB and A being the AngularJS, which we're not going to see here. There are other types of projects that you can create. A simple HTML5 that might have some embedded JavaScript inside. You'll see React, which is a competitor of AngularJS, which are client-side technologies that make calls to the server side. And they're good for doing things like single-page applications where you're only updating part of the page rather than doing a whole reload. There's other things in here I encourage you to look at, like Meteor, which is an alternative to Express. Express is a JavaScript package for doing, it's a pretty simple but effective app package for doing web type interactions, web request response, and those kinds of things. So again, the N and the E, that's the E and the N of the memes frame stack. Okay, so we've selected that. I'm going to give it a name. So, of course, you put it wherever you want it to be located. This is the node interpreter, which you had to have had installed previous to installing Webstorm. We're going to do embedded JavaScript, which is a simple but, again, effective presentation layer form of JavaScript that, again, you could replace with something more complex like Angular or React if you're interested. So let's hit create. It will take a moment to actually create this. So some of the things that it is doing is, of course, setting up the project, doing any kind of installation that might be needed. And you can see here is the file that got created and the folder, I should say, for the project. And if I was to go in here, I could see the same folder in my computer and some of the various folders that got created. So underneath here you can see there's a couple of different folders. We'll talk about them briefly. Again, this is just a beginning project, so you're going to have to add code to it. But under bin is basically the JavaScript file that actually runs the entire application. And this is set up to be a nodejs Express application. So it runs as a server that's going to listen, in this case, at port 3000. And it's going to take requests and it's going to route them appropriately to the appropriate JavaScript, HTML, whatever files are being requested. The routes directory inside our Express Node.js application here helps stipulate that. And you'll notice there's a route here called index.js, which index, as you know, is kind of the default file name that will be invoked, whether it's JavaScript, PHP, or anything that might be located whenever you generally see a slash in the directory. So this is the root directory that we're talking about with regards to this application. So anytime there is a slash request, what's going to happen is it's going to invoke this JavaScript function. And what it does is it gets a request and a response object that it builds out and returns this response object to the requesting agent, maybe a web browser, for example. And in this case, what it's going to do with that response object is it's going to render a file called index, okay? And index is actually located inside the view. So this is the index file that it's referring to. And notice that it has something kind of weird here. It says semicolon, title, colon, express. We're going to see where that is, but basically this is how we can pass variables directly here. Besides the client request variables, we can have anything we want hard-coded here. So let's look at this view file that's getting invoked. Here's the index.ejs that it's referring to, and here is that variable title. So that's the variable here, express. Okay, the value is called express. And so we have a title that should be called express, and then we are linking in style sheets. So the style sheets are located under the public directory, and you can see we actually have a style sheet here, which you can add styles to yourself. Other public files like images and JavaScript, currently it's empty because this is just the beginning project we generated. It's up to you to add content. But okay, it links that in, and then here inside the body of our HTML, we have first a header, which will be big and bold, and the value, this is actually a JavaScript. It says basically whatever the value of title is, print out here, and then it says welcome to, and again, whatever that value is. We know that value, right? Because if we take a look at it, that value should be express. Okay, so this is a beginning like welcome, hello world type application. So how do we run it? There's a couple different ways. On here, this toolbar, you'll notice there's a green arrow which will just run. There's a debug, a little bug, which will run in debug mode. You can put breakpoints and things like that in your project, and that's one of the things I asked you to look at was the videos on JetBrains' website. That's the company that makes Webstorm, and go over all the various videos, get started, the basics of how to use Webstorm, which includes debugging. But it's very similar to what you've used before, so hopefully you'll go through those videos pretty quickly. The other option for running, of course, is on the menus. There's a run menu, and you see the first two options are the ones that we've repeated. But here you can see it's grayed out, of course, because we're not doing anything with breakpoints, but that's where you can step in, step over, continue with debugging. All right, so let's just do a normal run, and here we go. And you'll notice down in the bottom, in the console window at the bottom, you can stop and restart. You can do that up here in the right-hand top side too. But it's basically running at this point. And you can see it ran the bin www, which was here, which is the listener at port 3000. So how do I actually see this and make a request? Well, you have to come up here and type in localhost :3000. And when you do that, and you could put /2 behind it, doesn't matter. It says express, that's that header 1 that we saw. Let's go back and take a look at that inside our EJS. So there's the header 1, and then it says welcome to, and then the value of title again, which we know. So we know that is the express, which is what we're seeing here. So let's change the value of that express, the title variable, and let's instead call it, well, so welcome to, like, for example, CS at CSU SPA. And let's go ahead and rerun it. Now we have to come back here to our browser to see the changes, and there we are. So both the header 1 and the welcome to message have subsequently changed. And that's the basics of creating a Express Node.js application project and how to run it.